That afternoon, the sky was still gloomy after the heavy rain earlier in the morning. Dark grey clouds drifted slowly above the wide lake, while cold gusts of wind occasionally swept across the water, creating gentle ripples on the surface. Carrying my familiar fishing rod, an old bait bag, and a few cans of leftover corn from last year, I slowly walked down to a fishing spot hidden deep inside a quiet bay. I had fished here many times before. The place was filled with rotten logs, bamboo roots, and dead branches submerged underwater. To beginners, it looked like an impossible place to fish, but for experienced anglers like me, it was exactly where the big fish loved to hide. I crouched down, used a small shovel to level the muddy bank, and pushed aside a few decaying branches. Today, there's definitely something huge down there, I muttered to myself before laughing quietly. The air after the rain felt strangely cool and refreshing. Beneath the trees along the shore, mist rose from the damp ground, making the entire area look like it was covered in a thin layer of fog. In the distance, the sounds of insects and evening birds blended with the gentle splashing of water against the bank, creating an atmosphere that felt both peaceful and eerie. Around 3:30 in the afternoon, I started mixing the bait. Some old corn, a little rice wine, mashed sweet potatoes, and fish powder. The smell was incredibly strong, but perfect for attracting fish. I rolled the mixture into large balls the size of my fist and threw them into the fishing spot. Splash, splash, splash. Waves spread slowly across the muddy water. After chumming the area, I didn't start fishing right away. When it comes to giant fish, patience is sometimes more important than skill. Time passed slowly. The sun gradually disappeared behind the distant trees, and weak golden light reflected softly on the water's surface. I carefully adjusted the float so that only a tiny tip remained visible above the lake. 1 hour, then nearly 2 hours passed. The water remained frighteningly still. I started to doubt myself. Maybe today would end in disappointment again, just like so many other fishing trips. And then the float twitched slightly. A tiny vibration, then silence again. My heart immediately began to race. I sat upright, my eyes locked onto the water. The float moved a little more. Here we go. I tightened my grip on the rod. But the first strike only pulled up a tiny shrimp. Well, that's bad, I laughed helplessly. A fishing spot full of shrimp and snails usually meant there were no big fish underneath. And just as expected, the next few catches were nothing but tiny fish, snails, and random junk. The sun slowly disappeared completely. The air grew colder. I sat quietly, staring at the dark black water in front of me, filled with disappointment. Just as I was about to pack up, the float vanished. Not slowly. It shot straight underwater, like something massive had dragged it down. "Big fish!" I shouted instinctively as I struck hard. At that exact moment, the fishing rod bent into a perfect arc. A terrifying force surged through my arms, nearly knocking me off balance. Beneath the surface, something powerful charged wildly through the water, thrashing so hard that white foam exploded everywhere. "Carp! It has to be a giant carp!" I gritted my teeth and held on tightly. The fish charged straight toward the submerged trees. The fishing line screamed under the pressure. I tried pulling the rod in the opposite direction, but I had almost no control over it. Sweat poured down my face even though the night air was cold. My heartbeat thundered inside my chest. Then the fish suddenly made another violent run. Snap! A dry, cracking sound echoed through the darkness. The rod whipped backward. Everything went silent. I stood frozen for several seconds. The line had snapped. The fish disappeared into the dark water. I stared at the cleanly broken line in frustration. It was brand new line, replaced less than a day ago. But in a place filled with submerged roots and rotten branches like this, a fish big enough could destroy almost anything. I collapsed onto the ground, and let out a long sigh. That fish was definitely huge. That feeling of regret is impossible to describe. Only anglers truly understand the pain of losing the fish of a lifetime. But the night wasn't over yet. I decided to switch to a thicker setup and moved to another nearby bay. This time, I used almost all the bait I had left, rolling it into balls as large as eggs before throwing them into the water. Darkness completely covered the lake. The wind grew stronger. In the distance, the lights of a few night fishermen flickered in the darkness. The lake became so quiet that I could hear only insects and the soft sound of water washing against the shore. I ate a small piece of bread while staring intensely at the glowing float in front of me. 10 minutes, 20 minutes, then suddenly, the float disappeared again. This time, it wasn't violent, but incredibly decisive. I struck immediately. A heavy weight surged through the rod. The fish raced across the surface, creating a long trail of waves through the darkness. My heart felt like it was about to explode from my chest.
Another one! I jumped to my feet and gripped the rod tightly, but only a few seconds later, the fish got away. When I reeled in, only the empty hook remained. I laughed helplessly in the middle of the night. A fishing trip filled with
hope, excitement, and endless disappointment. In the end, my only catch was a few small crabs, some tiny fish, and a pile of snails. But to me, the most unforgettable thing wasn't the number of fish I caught. It was the moment when the float disappeared beneath the dark water, the rod bent to its absolute limit, and the feeling of battling something enormous hidden deep beneath the lake. That is exactly why people become addicted to fishing.